political control. Islam has never had an ideological or theatrical place for separation between political and religious spheres. They've always kept it together. There's no aspect in which the religion and the politics are going to be different. They're the same thing. And in reality, in Judaism, that was the real goal at the very beginning, was that it would be a theocracy, it would be a God rule, and the secular law dealing with mankind's everyday action was covered by the Tanakh, the Torah, the law of God. That's found in the Tanakh, in the Pentateuch. And so it was never supposed to be separation. Same thing here. Jihad, Islamic holy war. Jihad defined. Jihad is an Arabic word which comes from the Arabic root word jahada, which means exerting utmost effort or to strive. Now, let me say this. The word originally was dealing with your personal striving to live according to the Quran, or a Muslim's personal striving, let me put it that way. While Muhammad was in Mecca, jihad referred essentially to nonviolent and personal struggles. In other words, your walk. Following the move from Mecca to Medina, he was chased out of Mecca and went to Medina in 622. And the establishment of an Islamic state, fighting in self-defense, was sanctioned by the Quran as part of the jihad. Defensive jihad and offensive jihad. So jihads are broken into two sections. Defensive jihad used to defend Islamic land. Defensive jihad does not need to be declared by an Islamic leader. Offensive jihad used to attack other land in order to bring about Del-Har and eventually Dar al-Islam. Offensive jihads are to be declared by a legitimate caliph. So he is a leader at that time.
So go right back to that,
Sure.
Mike, can. The offensive jihad used to attack other land in order to bring about Dar al-Harb, and
right.
eventually, all right, isn't that what happened to us on 9/11, the United States of America? Wouldn't the Muslim population declare that as in other words, they have attacked the United States of America?
Right. It's an act of terrorism. I don't know whether at that point, I don't believe at that point in time, jihad had been declared, but I'm sure there's an ongoing
According
attitude
to your definition.
of jihad. Yes. But a caliph has got to make it official for anybody to receive the rewards of, let's say, a suicide bomb or something like that.
Okay.
Dahimi. Dahimi is an Arabic word meaning protected. Dahimi allows rights of residence in return for taxes. So basically, they would go into a nation and, let's say, take over control of that nation. They would allow the Christians to live or other religions to live, but they have to pay an extra tax. And that, by the way, that money is going to strengthen the Islamic power so that they eventually will not have to receive the tax and force you to receive the teachings of Muhammad or else be killed. And they will actually do that. Hate surahs. Now, we've had so many people say that there's no such thing as hate surahs, or that Islam is a book of peace. Islam is a religion of love. Let me read some of the surahs. And I don't do this. The moderate Muslim would never say this. They would never read these things to their neighbor. But I want to show them that it is in the Quran. It is there, so that those who say that Islam never advocates violence, it's here. I will cast terror into the hearts of those who disbelieve. Therefore, strike off their heads and strike off every finger of them. Quran 8:012. Fighting with them until there is no more persecution, and religion should be only for Allah. Slay the idolaters wherever you find them. Take them captives and besiege them and lie in wait for them in every ambush. So in other words, you're actively waiting for them so that you may kill them. Fight those who do not believe in Allah, nor follow the religion of truth out of those who have been given the book, until they pay taxes in acknowledgement of the superiority and are in a state of subjection. So this is going back to the Dihimi tax. Allah suffice the believers in fighting. Some Jews you killed, and you took captive another part. He made you heirs to their Jewish land and their dwellings and their property, and to a land which you have not yet trodden. So this is saying that you're allowed to kill the Jews because Allah is giving you their land. And that's why the Palestinians feel that it is their land, even though From the very beginning with Abraham, it was given to Isaac, the promise to the line of Isaac, and not Ishmael. When you meet in battle those who disbelieve, then smite the necks until, when you have overcome them, then make them prisoners, and afterwards either set them free as a favor, or let them ransom themselves until the war terminates. As for those who are slain in the way of Allah, and that's 47004. Allah love those who fight in his way in ranks as if they were a firm and compact wall. Kill them wherever you find them and drive them out from whence they drove you out. And persecution is severer than slaughter. And do not fight with them at the sacred mosque until they fight with you in it. But if they do fight you, then slay them. Such is the recompense of the unbelievers. So this is kind of straightforward, isn't it?
Very.
When your Lord revealed to the angels, I am with you, therefore make firm those who believe. I will cast terror into the hearts of those who disbelieve. Therefore strike off their heads and strike off every fingertip of them. Now, in this aspect of jihad, these are pictures that obviously we did not create. These are pictures created by Muslims for the purpose of putting fear in the Jews and putting fear in America. The greater and the lesser Satan is the way they put it. Now I want you to look at these pictures. These are just innocent children that are being indoctrinated into the belief system. And there we've got, I'm hoping that he does not have real dynamite or C4 attached to him.
But it looks like
it sure looks the same as what everybody else.
To be a
suicide bomber.
Sure, yes.
And that's the concern, is that they could use a child.
Yes, and they will pay their family large sums of money.
They will pay
that.
their family from Saudi Arabia, wasn't it?
Yes, yes, there was a couple of places, but yes, I think Saudi Arabia is one of them.
And here's another one. That looks like a toy gun, but obviously someone's buying the uniform for them. Somebody's training them how to march in a straight line, and this is what they're being trained. The Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go. They should be trained in the things of God, not in the things of war. Now, but we are moderates. Now, this is, we hear the statement a lot in the United States. We hear it in the media. We hear it in the street corner. Muslims saying, listen, we're not the extreme Muslim. And they aren't. But let me look at this. Let's look at this together. But we are moderates. If that's the case, then they must oppose terrorist attack. They don't support Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, Hamas, or other terrorist groups. They would have to reject Sharia, because Sharia very clearly is not moderate. They must oppose all forms of honor killings, wife beatings. They must believe that women should be able to go get educated, have the right to go out without wearing a hijab or burqa. They should have the right to leave Islam if they want to. They should reject dehimitude, which is the payment of taxes. They should reject anti-Semitism. They should reject pedophilia, and I'm sure most of them do. And they should reject spreading Islam via violence or by the way of violence. So if you're a moderate, you'd have to agree with all the statements that I just made. Do you really accept those statements? Do you have a problem with any of those statements? If you do, then you're not a moderate.
Well, over and over, I have people that were raised in Islam that have converted out of it.
Right.
And they're now trying to expose it for the religion that it really is. And they tell me there's no such thing as a moderate. Even here in the United States, you're not a moderate. You're either you believe in Islam or you don't. And this is an American term and an American figure of speech that's been invented by Americans.
The idea that Islam would allow someone to be a moderate is not true. When you look at the Quran, you look at the Hadith, you look at the writings and teachings of Muhammad, very clearly it doesn't allow you to. Now, what will happen to moderate Muslims when Islamic control and jihad is enacted here in the United States? We have a soundbite. We have a clip I want everybody to look at. And this is an interview that was done. You were part of that interview, by the way, with Brother Swagger, yourself, and Brigitte Gabrielle. And I want you to listen as she answers that question.
Us opening our borders and welcoming Muslims into our country, us thinking, they're gonna love our way of life. I mean, all the Arab sheikhs used to come to Lebanon with their family to vacation and party because my country offered them the freedom that their countries forbid. Like I mentioned, the Muslims who came to study in our country, they graduated and worked in our economy. But also what aggravated the situation. See, we always had the situation contained between the Muslim Lebanese and the Christian Lebanese. But what aggravated the situation was the influx of the Palestinians into Lebanon, especially out of Jordan in the 1970s, when Lebanon was the only country to accept the third wave of Palestinian refugees into the country. While their Muslim brothers did not want them, we, the Christian Lebanon, took them in.
So you are saying that the situation may proceed without much difficulty, providing that the Muslims are not yet ready to make their move, and
Right.
they are inferior regarding numbers. But once they gain the upper hand, that's when everything changes.
Exactly. Once they gained the upper hands, once the Palestinians came to Lebanon and the Muslims became the majority, they put their heads together and they declared jihad in the country.
In other
And
words, they said, we're going to take over this nation.
we're going to take over this nation. What Yasser Arafat wanted to do was basically create a base from which to fight Israel, kill the Jews, and throw them into the sea. Something he tried to do in Jordan but failed because of the dictatorship of the king. We in Lebanon took him in, and he was able to use our democracy, our open-mindedness, our fair, our tolerance, our multiculturalism against us to topple our democracy. We, the Christians, refused to read the writings on the wall. We refused to listen to what the enemy was saying. We judged our enemy based on our own standards. We could not believe that even though our enemy was telling us exactly what they wanted to do, we could not believe that they mean it. We would always come up with our own translation of what they're trying to say.
Well, that's just what's happening in America today.
This is exactly what is happening in America today. America, as an open society, as a fair society, as a tolerant society, as a multicultural society, as an open border society, look at what's happening through the borders, which I will touch on later as we get into what's happening in our country. But I see the same signs in America. Our enemy today is telling us exactly what they want to do. You listen to the Al-Qaeda tapes, you listen to al-Zawahiri, you listen to al-Zarqawi, you listen to Osama bin Laden, you listen to Ghaddam. All the tapes that are coming out of Al-Qaeda are saying, we want to establish an Islamic Khalifa, we want to spread Islam all throughout the world, this is a holy war. They're not hiding it.
So you're hearing the same rhetoric now as it regards this nation as you heard as a little girl back in Lebanon
Exactly.
a few years ago.
Exactly. And in Lebanon,
Go ahead.
once the Muslims became the majority and they got the upper hand, they organized, they came out publicly. Those who used to say that we're moderates, only the radicals, only the radical Palestinians are doing this, all of a sudden, the moderates, quote unquote, the doctors, the lawyers, the educated Muslims, our next door neighbors, who used to come to our barbecue picnics the weekend before, were doing the massacring the weekend after, once the call of jihad was declared.
Okay, Muslims who you thought were your friends.
Yes.
Muslims who y'all broke bread together.
Yeah.
The children played together, and you thought they would never hurt us. Is that about right?
That's exactly it.
And what happened whenever war began?
Once the Muslims gathered, they formed an army called Jaysh Libnan al-Arabi, the Arabic Lebanese Army. Again, Arab in the Middle East refers only to Muslims. The word Arabic, because Islam spread out of Arabia throughout the world, as Muslims conquered nations, they basically forced those nations either to convert to Islam or adopt Islamic culture and language. Do you know that in Arabic today, when Christians pray, they pray for Allah? This is the word supposedly in Arabic for God.
Yeah.
So in the Bible and in Christian churches, when Christians pray, they pray for Allah.